Good morning, good afternoon, perhaps even good evening, gentlemen. It's Izen here, and what do we have for today, the start of this weekend? We have some talk about the datamined info of patch 9.2, and we have to start, of course, with the 2-piece and 4-piece tier set bonuses that have been able to be pulled from the incoming PTR. Now, we do know Blizzard has stated that they will likely delay the official release of the PTR after Thanksgiving hits in the US, so past November 25th. So in the last few days of November, perhaps the early days of December is when the PTR will become available. But for now, we do have to talk about some interesting stuff, which is the power. The power given to the tier sets. This is going to be important because there are going to be 3 parts before 9.2 hits. One is going to be the balance tuning to the classes and specs, to the abilities, the talents and whatnot. The second one is going to be the power given by you being able to equip 2 legendaries at once. And then third and last is going to be the power you will be able to get from tier sets. So for today, we do have some info on the tier sets. Of course, many of these are going to be changed and further tuned and adjusted. But for the moment, we can start looking at these tier sets, and we will do so by looking at them in order of power. Just how good they are for all the classes as a whole, starting from the trash ones. Either because they are actually weak, or because they are bland, boring, uninspiring and not really exciting. They won't really change anything for your class, for your spec at all. So let's start with the first one, which is Demon Hunter. Demon Hunter unfortunately gets trash on top of trash. Basically, for Vengeance, the tier set bonuses are going to focus on Immolation Aura, which is just a click and forget button for Vengeance. It doesn't really have much of any synergy, and this type of set bonuses are not really going to change much of anything for the spec. For Havoc, it is more of the same, except even more confusing. This seems like a situation where they want to force you to use First Blood and Trail of Ruin as talents. The confusing part is that some of the better performing Havoc builds don't even use those talents. What's more, some of the better performing builds for Havoc don't even cast Blade Dance in the first place. They literally ignore it. And now you have tier sets that basically empower and double down on you using Blade Dance for what looks like a power increase that is not even that great. Which is why Demon Hunter as a whole is fallen down to last place in terms of tier set power. What we follow after Demon Hunter is Monk. So Monk is not in as bad of a situation as Demon Hunter. Some of these ones can actually be pretty decent, but they are pretty disappointing in terms of design. Brewmaster is probably the worst of the 3 because it's just counterintuitive. You don't really have troubles keeping up shuffle as a Brewmaster, so the bonus is pretty confusing. What is even more confusing is the fact that while increasing the cooldown reduction on your brews is decent, the set piece in and of itself is counterintuitive if you want to use Charred Passions, which is another legendary that Brewmaster monks can use if they want to go particularly full damage, especially in Mythic Plus. So the set bonuses as a whole for Brewmaster are not very interesting. Mistweaver, same, they are not that interesting. I can already see myself getting triggered at the idea of playing around with that 4-piece set bonus. Imagine knowing that you can do more healing, but only if you stay inside this tiny rune that spawned randomly off the ground. It's even worse than a Rune of Power of Mages, because at least you're using that to do your burst window, right? It's just gonna last a few seconds. Whereas for Mistweaver, it's gonna happen every time you use a Thunder Focus T charge. And plus, it's not that healers work the same way as DPS. It doesn't look as important compared to DPS windows, so it's not that great for Mistweaver. Windwalker is the one that perhaps numbers-wise is getting the best deal out of the 3 specs of Monk. Very boring and disappointing to see a flat percentage increase as a set bonus, but hey, at least it works. At least Fists of Fury does some work in Mythic Plus, but it's kind of disappointing. And the 4-piece set bonus is actually disappointing because Windwalker's rotation is pretty strict. It is pretty set in stone whenever you have to use Fist of Fury and Rising Sun Kick before your Whirling Dragon Punch. So even when you proc this 4-piece set bonus, it's not that you're going to change too much of your rotation anyways. It's just going to be some minor buff that you gain in the background as you continue your normal rotation. So not that impressive so far for monks. Another class that isn't too impressive is Death Knight. So Blood DK has something that might be interesting, but we don't exactly know how it works. The 4-piece set bonus makes it so that when you parry, you cause your weapon to lash out and to hard strike an attacker. And Dancing Moon Weapon is summoning 2 of these weapons that can hard strike when you parry. Now, the important question on this set bonus is the hard strike also going to generate runic power on top of the damage it's going to do? Because if it's only going to do damage, it's okay, because at least it's more damage for Blood DK, and they really need it. But if it also generates runic power, then it's very powerful, it's very good. Since we don't know yet, we're going to leave this out with a question mark for the time being. We will check out later when we know more of it. Frost DK doesn't get too much interesting stuff. You do get more crit whenever Remorseless Winter is active, which is okay, and the interesting part of getting a Glacial Advance through your target whenever you consume Killing Machine, which is decent, more so in AoE than in single target, so they continue this, I guess, niche part that Frost is in. For Unholy, you have something a little bit more interesting, because every 5 Glowing Shadows or Scourge Strikes, you cast Soul Reaper on your target, so it's pretty good, especially because Soul Reaper sometimes has some limitations, like, for example, you have to actually fucking talent it to cast it, and now you don't have to. Sort of like the Hunter Legendary, which allows you to cast Serpent Sting without talenting Serpent Sting. The 4-piece set bonus is also going to further strengthen the execute phase of Unholy, because whenever the Soul Reaper that you casted, presumably for free, is going to trigger the secondary effect, which is being on a target below 35% HP after 5 seconds, when that triggers, you also summon an Army of the Dead Ghoul. So of the DK, Unholy seems like the more bright one, particularly because it gives you some extra niche power, in this case Execute, which is always good to have. Then we move over to another somewhat disappointing class, which is Priest. So the set bonuses for Discipline seem like they are stronger in PvP than they are anywhere else. Empowering once in a while your Shadow Mend and empowering your Penance whenever you get Power of the Dark Side. You know, it's decent, but in raid encounters it's not going to have as much of an emphasis of power. In Mythic Plus, I guess, also can have some better usage than it can in raids. Holy Priest is by far the most disappointing one. Blizzard is doubling down on this sort of cyclic synergy where whenever you Holy Word, you increase the cooldown reduction of your next Holy Word affecting spell through Divine Conversation, and when you gain the Divine Conversation buff, you also increase the effectiveness of your next Holy Word by 35%. It's kind of disappointing because there is no empowerment on big strong cooldowns, there is no utility being given to Holy Priest, which are kind of the things Holy Priest is lacking at the moment. So this one is making the parts Holy Priest was already dealing just fine with even stronger, but it's not fixing any of the issues of Holy Priest. Shadow Priest gets some cool looking stuff that looks like it's sort of the theme of Shadow Priest. They get cool stuff. Whether or not it's strong or weak doesn't matter as long as it's cool. So it's nice to make Dark Thoughts stronger based on the amount of dots your target have, and then you get the cool effect of the 4-piece creating a shadow to follow you for 8 seconds and hit your target for some shadow damage. Again, we don't know how powerful this is going to be, but at least it sounds cool. Talking about sounding cool, we also have Shaman. Here is where we start to be a little bit in the middle. Some of these can be pretty strong, and some of these are not. So Elemental gets focus on their DPS, Elemental, Storm and Fire. The 2-piece set bonus is going to empower your single target thanks to empowering Lava Burst and increasing your Lava Surge procs, which is nice for single target. And the 4-piece set bonus is going to extend the duration of your DPS Elemental whenever you Lava Burst, as well as when your Elemental is on cooldown, you have a 20% chance whenever you spend Maelstrom to reduce the remaining cooldown by 10 seconds. So this is setting up a scenario where Elemental Shamans will likely be able to have a near permanent Elemental next to them. You have other ways to make this happen. You have the Night Fae Legendary, you have the Skybreakers Legendary, so you of course already have the Conduit, which significantly extends the duration of your elemental, so this is likely going to be a thing for elemental. It will at the very least give some power to a big weakness of elemental, because the fire elemental has been weak for quite a long time. Storm elemental, as its usage, its power only when its Eye of the Storm cooldown and setup basically is available, so having it alive for longer allows you to get to use these cooldowns more, so it's pretty good for elemental. What is also good is enhancement. Enhancement already has a lot of synergy with their feral spirits that they can have with their legendary, the Witch Doctor's Wolf Bones. Now the 2-piece and the 4-piece set bonus are both going to work in synergy with your feral spirits. So this looks like so far the best and better thought out set of set pieces essentially for any of the specs we have seen. And it is nice to put it right here because it's going to be a great contrast to the disaster that is Restoration Shaman. I've seen lots of people being excited by this because they look at the effects and they think it's great. There is a problem. Restoration Shaman doesn't cast Chain Heal. You cast Chain Heal during farm bosses when you know you're gonna finish the fight with 60% of your mana, so you have a bunch of it to spend for free, essentially. But in serious situation, in progress situations, it's unlikely that you will be casting Chain Heal. The 2-piece set bonus is still kind of okay. All you have to do is target one player with Riptide to be able to gain 30% crit on all the rest of your Chain Heal, jumping to all other targets, which is kind of fine because, you know, Resto Shamans go for crit already. You should have around 40% right now. With this set bonus, you would basically have 70% crit chance on Chain Heal. It's good because Resto Shamans have Resurgence, which means you get mana back when you crit, which is partially going to help the fact that Chain Heal is very mana inefficient. The fact that you can crit a lot and gain the mana back, that is kind of okay. The problem, however, is split into, as mentioned, number one, Chain Heal is still not a very effective spell to cast, and the other problem is, of course, the 4-piece set bonus, because your cooldown as a healer are set before the fight even starts. In almost all situations, your Spirit Link totem will be set at 3-minute intervals, regardless of this 4-piece set bonus. It won't matter if, thanks to this set bonus, you will have reduced the cooldown of SLT by 25 seconds. It's pointless. This 4-piece would have to reduce it consistently enough by at least a minute to make it worth for a raid leader to set up your Spirit Link totem somewhere else or more often than 3 minutes every time. So, disappointing set bonuses for Restoration, but Enhancement and Elemental look good. For Druid, we have also another split, 2 and 2. We have Restoration and Feral being pretty bad, and then Guardian and Balance being pretty good. Restoration is bad because it focuses too much on Swiftmend. Swiftmend is a shit heal that, generally speaking, is never used in raids and pretty much only as an emergency tool in Mythic Plus. It's not that powerful. For Feral Druid, there is this counterintuitive 4-piece set bonus where you land this very powerful 10-second bleed at the end of your Berserk or at the end of your Incarnation. There is a problem. Generally speaking, if you pull a Mythic Plus pack and you go into it with Berserk, by the time Berserk ends, the pack is dead. So your 700% of attack power bleed is going to go off on nothing, because you just use your cooldown to kill that pack. It is quite counterintuitive to put such a powerful end effect to a cooldown. It would be like putting a super strong effect at the end of Wings, or at the end of Vendetta, or at the end of Sinful Hysteria. You want it at the start, or at the very least you want it in the middle when your pack of enemies is alive for that effect to be worth, not at the end. So it's pretty confusing, this effect for Feral. The ones that are not confusing are for Guardian and Balance. Very powerful, both of them. Very good synergy for Guardian with the Earth legendary they are already using in Mythic Plus. Being able to get an extra 4 seconds of Incarnation very, very often is pretty good. For the way Guardian plays the Mythic Plus pools, now you can reliably always get 4 seconds of Incarnation every big pool, just to give you some extra barrier thanks to your Ursox Fury Remember legendary. Balanced Druid also gets powerful set bonus, particularly the 4-piece, being able to reduce the cost of Star Surge and Starfall by 20%. It's very powerful because it can go very well with the Time-Worn Dreambinder legendary, which already reduces the cooldown of Star Surge and Starfall by 20%, so you can get a 40% discount on your Star Surge usage, which is very strong. Now that we're starting to go, however, on the high end of classes when it comes to power of tier sets, we have Warrior. So Warrior is pretty simple and pretty basic, so it's not that exciting, but they are still pretty powerful. Arms Warrior gets a pseudo callback to the Test of Might playstyle of BFA, where you wanted to dump tons of rage. In this case, the dumping rage is going to empower your Colossus Smash and Warbreaker. Protection Warrior gets something similar. They also get a callback to their BFA playstyle and their BFA Azerite traits, because Avatar is now going to instantly give you 10% more damage and 10% less damage taken, plus instant max stacks of Outburst, which is the 2-piece set bonus. Both are pretty good. They both have a pretty decent and, I guess, enticing playstyle around spending rage. The one in the middle is Fury. Fury set bonuses are even more simple. You literally simply have a 20% chance to proc Recklessness whenever you Raging Blow, and the 4-piece set bonus gives you an extra charge of Raging Blow. And that's it. It's very simple, it's very basic, but it's gonna be very good for Fury and for the Fury playstyle. So, as I said, not very revolutionary set bonuses, not great unique effects, but very powerful, very solid. Then we have Rogue. Rogue is, I guess, up to personal preference, because these ones are powerful, but with some caveats. Because Assassination, for example, is only going to get powered up in single target. So, once again, Blizzard is doubling down on a certain spec to keep its niche. Assassination is garbage in AoE and very powerful, one of the strongest single target specs in the game, and these set bonuses are exclusively going to empower their single target. Shiv on a single target is going to increase your bleeds crit, and Vendetta on single target is going to have your poisons and bleeds do more damage. So again, it is very strong, but it is only very strong in single target. Outlaw's effects are admittedly a little bit more boring. The more interesting ones are for subtlety. Both of them are actually pretty nice to think about, and they synergize very well together, giving you a 20% chance per Shadow Strike to trigger Shadow Blades, and then your 4-piece set bonus makes your finishers have a chance to cast Shadow Strikes at 5 targets, means that in AoE, whenever your 4-piece set bonus procs, you guarantee Shadow Blades for 5 seconds, because you are hitting 5 targets with Shadow Strike. That's 20% chance, 5 times means 100% chance. The 4-piece set bonus is admittedly much weaker in single target, and the 2-piece set bonus is still stronger in every situation, so it's very good for subtlety to have these 2-piece set bonuses together. Is also particularly good because, unlike specs like Shaman, who have their chain heal empowered, subtlety rogues do use Shadow Strike, and that is the core ability in the rotation, so it's very good that it gets empowered. Now we are entering the stronger area of tier set bonuses. First we have Mage. Both Frost and Arcane are pretty good, they are pretty strong and give them some powerful utility, both for the 4-piece set bonus of Arcane, giving them a free touch of the Magi, and the 4-piece set bonus of Frost, giving you 10% more Frost damage for 8 seconds. But of course the standout set is going to be Fire, getting you 2 extra seconds of combustion and 100% faster recharge, basically a makeshift Lucid Dreams from BFA on your charges of Fire Blast and Phoenix Flames is very powerful. This is further going to empower the playstyle around your Sun King's Blessing legendary, because right now you can dump all of your charges of Fire Blast and Phoenix Flames in your normal combustion, and then you have no more charges of Fire Blast and Phoenix Flames if you wanted to enter the shorter combustion window of SKS. So you had to be Night Fae, and you had to use your Night Fae ability to try to get some of those charges back. With this 4-piece set bonus, you won't need to. With this 4-piece set bonus, combustion will already magically recharge half of your charges of Fire Blast and Phoenix Flames, which is going to be enough enough to hard cast your Pyroblast of Sun King's Blessing legendary effect to get into your second smaller combustion window, still with charges of Fire Blast and Phoenix Flames ready to use, which is very good for fire. Then we have the more fleshed out and balanced set of buffs, because for Hunter all 3 specs are getting good set bonuses. Funnily enough, the strongest of the set bonuses is currently on Survival. Finally, Survival gets some extra further synergy to their already stronger ability, which is their Wildfire Bomb. Both of these set bonuses for Survival are going to be very powerful. Beast Mastery and Marksmanship do get similarly powerful bonuses. Beast Mastery tied to your kill command, which is very focused, much more focused on single target than anything else, and Marksmanship gets buffs to trick shots. The main thing is that trick shots previously must have hit at least 3 targets, whereas now you will be able to get trick shots regardless, because as long as you're spending 80 focus, you are gonna gain trick shots anyways. And even when you get this on single target, where you don't have anyone to ricochet your aim shot and rapid fire too, you're still getting the 2-piece set bonus that is going to increase the damage of the affected shot by 30%. So it's gonna be good in single target, it's gonna be great on 2-target fights, because now you can proc trick shots on 2 targets when you previously couldn't, and it's just going to be extra damage on AoE, where you were already proccing trick shots every time, but now you will be able to get the 2-piece set bonus of extra damage in AoE. So all 3 specs are getting some pretty good effects on their set bonuses for Hunter. The same cannot be said for Paladin, because Protection is getting some pretty boring and disappointing bonuses. Retribution is getting decent ones, but not great. Yeah, the coin flip on whether or not you are resetting Wake of Ashes and Blade of Justice is going to be a breath taker, pretty much, because it's going to make a decent difference in the amount of damage you can pull off whenever that 4-piece set bonus procs. But the real important one is Holy Paladin. The 2-piece set bonus is already very powerful in and of itself. The fact that you can choose when to make this proc, the fact that this isn't RNG, this is tied to you casting Word of Glory. So if you take a fight like Guardian of the First Ones, you wait for the mega hit of the Purification Protocol. Right as the hit is about to land, you cast 1 Word of Glory. You then use Crusader Strike to go back to 5 Holy Power. As soon as the Purification Protocol hits, you have back-to-back double hit of Light of Dawn for massive HPS. You land another Crusader Strike to go back to 3 Holy Power, and you land a 3rd Light of Dawn. Maybe you even have Divine Purpose, so you proc a 3 Light of Dawn, you have 4 Light of Dawns in 5 GCDs, massive amount of healing. That's already good. The real powerful part, however, is the Force set bonus. Each target hit by Light of Dawn has a 100% chance to reduce the remaining cooldown of Wings by 2 seconds. Light of Dawn hits 5 targets, which means it's a 10-second cooldown reduction on your Wings. This is, of course, never going to go live as it is. Just to give you an idea, an average Paladin is going to cast Light of Dawn 80 times during the Sylvanas encounter. If you consider that if they had the 2-piece set bonus, they would be able to cast about 20 extra Light of Dawns for free, they would have gotten 100 casts of Light of Dawn. That is 1,000 seconds of cooldown reduction. That is 16 minutes of cooldown reduction to your Wings. That means 8 extra Avenging Wraths being able to be cast on the Sylvanas fight. Yeah, that is obviously not going to go live, but for the moment, we have to consider this an extremely powerful set bonus for Holy Paladins. At last, the strongest of the changes are going to Warlocks. Funnily enough, after tons of nerfs to Malefic Rapture, Affliction is actually getting a very good synergy set of effects for Malefic Rapture. Not only is the 4-piece set bonus giving back a 15% damage increase to Malefic Rapture, which is great because it's been battered and beaten quite a bit, this ability for Affliction, but it is also going to give you very good synergy for you and your constant reusage of dots, because casting Malefic Rapture is going to extend the duration of your dots by 2 seconds. And the 2-piece set bonus makes it so that using Drain Soul or Shadow Bolt has a chance to make Malefic Rapture free and cost no soul shards, as well as being instant, which means even more Malefic Rapture casts, which means even more extensions of your dots. And because your dots are being extended, you don't have to recast them, which means you have more time to cast Drain Soul. which means you're gonna proc more free Malefic Raptures, which means you get to cast more Malefic Raptures, which means you extend the duration of your dots even more, so that you don't have to recast them, so that you can continue casting Drain Soul, so that you can continue getting free Malefic Rapture procs. You see where this is going. It's a very good change in both single target and AoE, particularly in, AoE fights where the targets can last quite a bit. It's a pretty good change for Affliction. Demonology also get a pretty good set of changes. The extra Dreadstalker on the 4-piece set bonus is very good. The 2-piece set bonus, where your Hand of Gul'dan now not only spawns imps but can also have a chance to spawn a Mega Imp, the Malicious Imp, is going to be very good for Demo as well. But the real change of the day is for Destruction, because Destruction is getting a set of insane powers. The 2-piece set bonus, giving your Rain of Fire or Chaos Bolt a 20% chance to make the other cast for free, is very strong, which is made even more insane by the 4-piece set bonus. When you are casting one of these two abilities on their free cast, you get an Infernal for 8 seconds. Now, this is giving us shades of 8.3 Destruction Warlocks, of Nyalota Destruction Warlock with their horde of Infernals and their insane DPS. To be fair, right now they don't have 6 million haste, they don't have the Azerite traits and the corruptions to make such a powerful combo. Right now it's just the Infernal being summoned, so it still looks like it's within the realms of balance, but it is definitely going to make Destruction much more powerful, particularly in Mythic Plus, in AoE. Basically, that is when the strength of these set bonuses are going to come out the strongest. So these were all of the tier sets that have been data mined so far. We tried to go from what looked like the weakest or the most bland of classes all the way up to the one that looks like the strongest right now. Of course, there is plenty of room for changes, for balancing and for tuning of all of these tier sets. We can also take bets on just how many of them are going to go live the way they are. I think less than 30% of these tier sets are going to stay exactly as they are before they hit the actual patch in a few months. So for now, we just looked at what Blizzard had in mind preliminarily for these sets. Some of these are interesting, some of these are very powerful, others are more disappointing, and they look like they are missing the mark even in the general idea of what they wanted to achieve with the tier sets. So hopefully there is going to be enough of a feedback and a player response to these tier sets that Blizzard will end up changing a bunch of these. For the time being, however, we can stop and leave you to the rest of your weekend. Let me guys know, regardless, just how excited or depressed you are after you saw the tier sets for your class and your spec. I'm sure there's going to be plenty of people on suicide watch, or perhaps very hyped at some of the potential changes coming to their class and spec very soon. However, for now, we will stop here. Thank you guys, as usual, for watching the video and for supporting the channel. If you want to continue to do so, leave a like on the video, comment down below, as well as subscribe to the channel, but only if you play a character whose name starts with a B. See you guys soon, and in the meantime, I need to start doing like singers. I need to start drinking that honey, creamy thing type of thing for my throat. Jesus.